Hi, I'm Antonio Centeno. I'm the founder of Real Men, Real Style. Today, gentlemen, we're going to be talking about 5 tips to help you better wear your jeans with your sweaters. Specifically, 5 tips on how to match your sweaters with the denim in your wardrobe. Okay, guys, before we get started, I'm going to ask you to like this video if you find it useful, and let me know in the comments down below how you think I can make these videos better. If you've got questions, we get down there. And if you've got more questions, go over, check out the article. I've written a detailed article full of illustrations, and I link over to a couple companies. One of them, Lee Jeans, the sponsor of this video, and you can go check out some of the sweaters, the jeans, the clothing that I recommend. I've got all of that over at Real Men, Real Style. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this. So tip number 1, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you buy the right sweaters. Focus in on simple sweaters. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, sweaters can become incredibly complicated. There's a lot of things, from the pattern of the stitch to the way the shoulder is set into the sweater. There's a number of things that can vary on a sweater. You don't want your first set of sweaters to be ones that have a lot of pattern. So Argyle, Fair Island, there's a number of them coming out of South America. They're going to have like a lot of Peruvian or Incan type of patterns on them. You're going to want to avoid those. They're great sweaters, but not as your first couple, basically foundation sweaters. And the reason being is they're not going to be as versatile in your wardrobe. So you want to go with something that preferably also isn't going to be incredibly bulky, something that you could possibly layer with other clothing. So keep it simple. I would recommend also focus on 2 things, the color and the pattern. So let me talk first about the color. What do I mean by the color? Okay, so there are colors that just traditionally have worked in menswear. They have darker hues, and they're ones that are just gonna match more of the clothing in your wardrobe. When it comes down to it, blue jeans are gonna match almost any sweater that you have out there. And I'll talk about how this changes up though in point number 5, but let's just say that you wanna look at grays, blacks, be careful. Yeah, I recommend charcoal, but black is probably going to be too stark of a contrast, so don't make that one of your first colors. Black can be a great sweater, maybe your 3rd or 4th sweater, but I would look at charcoal as your 2nd or 3rd. One of the things that you'll also want to look at, maybe navy blue, olive, other variations. You want to avoid colors like red. Not that red can be brought into a wardrobe. I've seen a beautiful red sweater over at the Aaron Sweater Market. And that one right there, maybe a 5th or 6th sweater. But the problem with reds, with oranges, is that these are very memorable. Then when you start to throw in patterns, like I mentioned, Argyle, Fair Island, all of a sudden people are going to remember you wearing this sweater, and you're only going to be able to pull it off 1 or 2 times a month versus a very simple classic navy crew neck sweater that has maybe just set in sleeves. That's not going to be super memorable. And if it's made from a light cashmere fabric, has a very simple weave, you could actually wear that 2 times in the same week. Most people aren't even going to notice. And that's great because I know what we're looking for, and what I push for is for you to have an interchangeable wardrobe. So first off, keep your sweater simple. I have nothing against complicated patterns. I love them. I mean, Fair Isle sweater, classic Scottish sweater, but it's not going to be something. The Aaron sweater, a great sweater. And this is maybe one example of where you can go with maybe a navy blue. And over in the article, I've got a picture of one. It's a navy blue Aaron sweater, and it's got the patterns with the stitch. That's about as, I think, complicated as I want to get, but I wouldn't even recommend that for your first sweater. Maybe your 3rd or 4th sweater in your wardrobe, that's also going to be a little bit bulkier of a build. So again, point number 1, keep your sweaters simple. Point number 2 is proportion. So I kind of alluded to this, but bulkier, heavier sweaters, well, you can wear those with denim that maybe fits a little bit looser. What you want to be careful of, and I know some of you guys out there, you love your slim fit, close fit jeans. If that's what you're going to be wearing, make sure that the sweaters you're wearing are not sitting off you. Sweaters are notoriously hard to get to fit better. There's a couple tricks, and that's something I'll save for another video, but let's just say that you want a close fit in your sweater if you're going to have a close fit in your jeans. If you want to wear jeans that are really loose and that's your style, then make sure that you've got sweaters that aren't falling off you but are a little bit more loose. You want to keep proportion with proportion. So that's all I'm going to say. And again, go to the article. I go into more detail there. Point number 3, add interest afterwards. And what do I mean by that? I mean, well, interest, flair, a little bit of, pizzazz to whatever it is you're going to be wearing. Look to add that afterwards. So this is where you can bring in I've seen guys bring in scarves and be able to add a lot, be able to bring in a type of shoe. I've already talked about wearing dress shoes with jeans, but let's say you wanted to wear a double monk strap, and I've put an entire article out there on the double monk strap over at Real Men Real Style. But this is a shoe that's going to draw a little bit of attention to itself. Make sure that you decide to add that afterwards. Now, here's where you can have a little bit of fun, is that you can actually go with certain neck styles on your sweater. Now, let's assume that you've kept it simple, but your third or fourth sweater, perhaps you want to go with something that's got a turtleneck, or maybe something that's got more of a fold or a cowl. You could introduce that, but understand that adding the interest, first you want to have your foundation sweaters down. Let's go to point number 4, which is layering correctly. This really applies to the cardigan. So the cardigan, if you're not familiar with it, again, I've got an article over at Real Men Real Style. I think I put out an entire video on this as well. It's going to have the buttons or the zipper in front. Usually on more classic ones, we're going to see buttons. It's going to have an open V-neck cut normally. What this opens up for, and we also see this on V-neck cuts as well, is that you can wear a dress shirt underneath. You're going to want to make sure when you're layering that the clothing underneath doesn't extend past. Sometimes I see guys throw on really close fitted sweaters and they've got a loose shirt on underneath. Guys, this isn't going to look good. Basically, you're going to have the collar kind of bunching out and falling out. In addition, you're going to have the flaps of the shirt down, not tucked in. Don't go for that look. Now, let's talk about layering a sweater in with a suit or with a sports jacket. Here, it's going to be very important. And getting back to point number 2, you're going to want to make sure you've gone with a sweater that is very lightweight. This is when a very lightweight wool or cashmere is going to be nice, made from a very, I would say, a fine yarn. These almost look like they don't even look like they're stitched. They had to be machine made, but the great part about that is you've got something that's very lightweight that you can still layer under a suit jacket. Now, the key here is making sure that your suit jackets or your sports jackets in particular, are a little bit looser, knowing that you would eventually want to layer a very lightweight, close-fitted sweater underneath. Okay. Point number 5 is make sure to have fun with your denim. So denim doesn't have to come in just blue. And that's kind of what I was alluding to, why you want to keep your sweaters simple. Because you can also change up your denim. There's a lot of great, well-priced denim or jeans out there. Again, I recommend Lee because I know if you're down in Australia for less than 40 to 50 bucks, you can go into a store in Australia and pick up a pair of Lee jeans, and they come in gray, come in, I've seen maroon, black. Now, this is where I'm not going to recommend colors in sweaters like orange. Now, I used to have an orange sweater. I liked it a lot, but it's going to be probably the 7th or 8th sweater that you're going to want to own. And this is why. Because if you start to change up that denim color, and let's say you have black jeans with an orange sweater, what are you going to look like? You're going to look like a pumpkin. So be careful. I guess that's fine for Halloween, but that's where you want to make sure that if you keep your sweaters simple in color, go for darker hues like olive, navy blue, then you can start to have fun at point number 5, which is start to vary up the denim. Gray, one of the reasons I recommend gray for men is it is a neutral color. You're not, whether it be in your denim, whether it be in your sweater, and if you're kind of curious about how can I match gray jeans with any type of sweater, just make sure it's going to be a different variation of gray. So if you've got a lighter gray pair of jeans, you're going to want to match it with a charcoal gray sweater, or this is where you could start to bring in variations of colors in sweater because technically your jeans have no color to them. So hopefully you enjoyed those 5 points. Again, guys, I support this with an article over at Real Men Real Style. Go check it out. And if you need more, if you really want, dive in, go grab my free ebook over at Real Men Real Style. 47 pages of solid content. Take care. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.